Hi, I'm Deanna Ross, and I'm from a little town outside of Waco, Texas. I was 19. I didn't know I didn't have any understanding of who I was or why I was there. I grew up in a household where my father was a violent alcoholic, so I had no idea what healthy relationships look like, not between family, not between a man and a woman. I didn't know any of this sort of stuff. I just know I got pregnant and I was not in a good place with a good person. And um I thought there have been times when I grew up where I just thought to myself, I wish I had never been born. And I said that to someone in my family, and someone in my family looked at me and she said, "You do know your mother was on two forms of birth control when she conceived you." My mom had five children. I was the fifth child. And I just thought, well, what am I supposed to do about that? I'm here. What do you do with that kind of information? I'm here. You know, I can't be unborn. I can be reborn, but I can't be unborn. So anyway, I didn't realize until I started listening to Krista what what were the what is it? Principalities, powers, prince of the worlds, and wickedness in high places. That's the enemy. And the principalities had a lot to do with my family line and what I grew up in. And I didn't get that. I didn't get it. I didn't understand it. And if you don't get it and you don't understand it, you can't be delivered from it. So, you know, but that I'm not saying that Jesus couldn't have come in and done whatever he wanted to. It was that, again, I don't think Jesus pushes his will on you. You have to get to a point to accept his will. And I just didn't have enough healthy understanding of life to know what that was. I mentioned to you that there are happy accidents, and one of them was they were talking about in EMM, they were talking about Audrey was going to do a life discipleship class, and I thought it was Discipleship Class 101. I didn't really know what I was signing up for. I didn't realize that it was geared towards speaking to women who are in a situation to help them along in this process of making decisions, because at 19 years old I didn't have anybody to help me make this decision. I just knew that I had a messed up childhood and I didn't want that for my child. So anyway, as I was going through this life discipleship class, I started getting mad at the enemy a little bit, because there's some things the medical doctors did not tell me. One is I went to Planned Parenthood, and that's how I found out I was pregnant. And they were so fast to give me the solution. When they realized that here I am, a 19-year-old in a bad situation, they were really fast with their advice. They were really quick with it. It was crazy. They were crazy quick. And in fact, they had my doctor's appointment to go talk to to have this all set up before I even left the clinic. And they told me, well, I think back then, and I can't remember a whole lot of what they said, and it's kind of a blur now, but there's a few things I do remember them saying, is I had to go immediately. I couldn't sit and wait. I had to go immediately, because I was at that threshold where abortion would not be an option anymore. Because once you get to a certain point, you're not allowed you weren't allowed to abort. And so I went to that appointment, and here's what got crazy. When I went to the appointment, a regular abortion is a day. But I was so pregnant that they had to do a procedure before they did the procedure. So that was a complete lie. That what they said to me, the counseling they gave me, was a complete lie. Something else they didn't say, and I learned in the life discipleship class, was after going through this, there are certain things, medical problems that you have due to being post-abortive. And one of them was, when I got into another situation, five years later, I was pregnant and unmarried, and this time I was like, I'm not doing that again. So their father, who did the best he could, said, look, I deserve to be a father, and that child deserves to have a father. So I thought, okay, I'm outvoted 2-1 because I didn't want to marry him. There were already problems in the relationship, and that relationship did end in divorce. But I made a different choice. And when I did, I didn't realize that the 4 months of bed rest I had to be put on was a side effect from the first abortion I had. The fact that I was having a hard time carrying my baby. I actually tried to abort my child at 4 months. And I was going into labor at 4 months, to the point that they had to hospitalize me and then put me on bed rest. No one told me that. In their quick advice and wanting you to make a good, solid decision, they didn't tell you that. Something else that it did is, as I went through life and I'd hear people in this situation, because I didn't know how to be a life disciple, when people would get themselves in this situation, I'm like, well, you need to do what's best, because I didn't want to be a hypocrite. I did not want to be a hypocrite. I knew what happened to me, and I didn't step in and say, hey, this happened to me. You might want to think about it. I didn't know how to talk to them. All I knew was, I had made this decision, and if I tried to talk them out of the decision, then I was just a hypocrite. So it took me years and years and years, even to only the people that knew. And then even the people that knew, after I came out of that clinic, it was like, we're not talking about this. We're just not talking about this. And then Krista came along with the Speak Life Project, and she said that there could be healing from it. And I didn't realize that I did have a voice, and I could speak into this, and I could tell other people, look, at this time, this was the situation in which I was under, and this is kind of how I came about to the place I was. But I think the main thing about it was just my feeling unwanted, and growing up in such a traumatic household, and then finding myself so young and repeating those mistakes from childhood and thinking, I'm not raising another child. I'm not raising another Deanna into this world, because I was pretty messed up too. And I didn't realize that there could be healing. I just thought there could be silence. You could just try to silence it and let the years kind of bury that. But it buried my voice, and it buried that experience. And the truth of the matter is, I made a better choice the second time. But there were consequences. There were consequences to the first one. And if anybody thinks I'm too young right now, I'll do this, and later on in life I'll try this, just remember mine were 5 years, my pregnancies were 5 years apart, and there are still consequences for that. I didn't do the Speak Life project, but I after hearing about the Speak Life project, I went into my first testimony at my women's group here in Waco, Texas. And I just said it out loud. I just said it out loud because there, you know, I was shocked to hear how many people are sitting on the pew that did it too. You have no idea how easy it is to self-justify those, you know, I had a crummy childhood. What kind of crummy mother would I make? And, and I just ended up dating. I'm here pregnant with someone just like my dad. Do I really want that person to be, that they would be better off? The Lord hasn't done anything like the miracles I hear on Speak Life. I hear Speak Life miracles where they get to meet their child. I don't know if my child was a boy or a girl, and I have a name for both. A little boy would be Isaac, and a little girl would be Joy. So I have a name for both, and I can roughly tell you how old they were because of how old I was and stuff like that. So I haven't had any of those kind of miracles where I've met my child or even know the sex of my child. But what is so healing and been so restorative for me on the Speak Life project is to hear about the fact that your child up in heaven is angry with you and doesn't feel the bitterness or the or resentment or anything at all towards you. They just feel that pure agape love. In religion, you have no idea how much God adores you. You cannot see the adoration of God towards you. You just feel like it's just good enough. And now he loves me so much. Through a hug from Krista, I felt cradled. I'm 56 years old. I felt like an infant being held in the arms of a father who absolutely adores me. I'm not a vain person, so I don't really care what I look like, or even, my husband has one of those honey type speaking voices. I don't even care what I sound like. I just want people to hear the message of God's love and the fact that he understands what led to those decisions. And he's not mad at someone who's made in his likeness or image. He's mad at the adversary, the accuser of the brethren. Lucifer was supposed to sing the song of the man, and instead he turned the song of the man into a song about him, and his pride and vanity is what imploded the earth the first time around. And that's what happened because the Bible says he hovered over the void. And then you go on to the prophets, and the prophets say that this world was not built in vain, and it was not built with a void. And from the very beginning, now when you start knowing that sort of stuff, now you understand why the lamb had to be slain from the foundation.